In a small, impoverished village deep in the heart of the African savannah, a man named Kwabena struggled to provide for his family. The land had grown barren, and the village was gripped by drought. Desperate and burdened by his family's needs, Kwabena faced a choice that would forever alter his destiny. Unknown to his innocent daughter, Onika, a dark decision was about to be made. Kwabena's daughter, Onika, was a young girl full of life, with dreams that soared far beyond the dry fields of her village. Unaware of her father's mounting despair, she spent her days tending to her little garden, believing that things would soon get better. But the innocence in her eyes would soon fade, as the weight of her father's decision began to take shape. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a wealthy trader named Nana Adam visited the village. He was known for his riches, but also for the ominous rumors that trailed him wherever he went. With a silver tongue and promises of wealth, he approached Kwabena with an offer that was as tempting as it was terrifying. "Give me your daughter, and I will make you the richest man in this village," Nana Adam whispered to Kwabena as the night grew darker around them. The offer was unthinkable, but the desperation in Kwabena's heart drowned out the voice of reason. His mind raced with visions of gold and a future free from hunger, but he also felt the icy grip of fear tightening around his soul. The following day, Kwabena made his decision. With a heavy heart, he agreed to Nana Adam's proposal, convincing himself that it was for the good of his family. He told Onika that she was going to live with the trader, promising her a life of luxury and comfort. Little did she know, she was being sold into a fate far worse than she could ever imagine. As Onika left the village with Nana Adam, the villagers whispered amongst themselves, sensing that something was terribly wrong. The young girl looked back at her home one last time, tears welling up in her eyes, but she remained silent. Deep in her heart, she hoped her father's decision was for the best, even as an unknown dread began to creep in. The journey with Nana Adam was long and treacherous. Onika quickly realized that her new life was not the paradise her father had promised. She was treated as a mere possession, forced to serve in the trader's home and endure hardships beyond her years. Each day, her hope dwindled, but a fire of determination began to grow within her. She knew she had to escape to find her way back home. Meanwhile, back in the village, Kwabena began to feel the weight of his decision. The wealth that Nana Adam had promised was delivered, but it brought with it a deep sense of guilt and unease. The villagers began to shun him, whispering behind his back, and the once proud father found himself isolated and tormented by nightmares of his daughter's fate. One night, as Onika lay on the cold floor of the trader's house, she overheard a conversation that would change everything. The trader boasted to a visitor about how he had acquired his wealth by preying on the desperate and how he had no intention of ever letting her go. Onika's heart sank, but it also steeled her resolve. She knew she had to act fast. As the days passed, Onika secretly began to plan her escape. She observed the trader's routines, noting the times when the house was least guarded. Every night, she whispered a prayer to the ancestors, hoping they would guide her safely back to her village. Her spirit, though battered, remained unbroken. On the night of the full moon, Onika saw her chance. The trader and his men were deep in celebration, having drunk themselves into a stupor. With the house in chaos, Onika slipped out unnoticed, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew the way back to the village would be long and dangerous, but she was driven by a fierce desire to return home. As Onika made her way through the dark and treacherous wilderness, she faced countless obstacles. The path was rough, and the night was filled with the sounds of wild animals. But her determination to see her father again, to confront him for what he had done, fueled her every step. She was no longer the innocent girl who had left the village. She was stronger, wiser, and ready to reclaim her life. Meanwhile, back in the village, Kwabena's guilt had become unbearable. He had lost his friends, his honor, and most importantly, the love of his life, his daughter. He spent his days in solitude, haunted by memories of Onika and plagued by the villagers' whispers. Little did he know, his daughter was on her way back, and with her return, the village would never be the same. As Onika neared the village, she was filled with a mix of emotions, anger, sadness, and a burning desire for justice. She had been wronged, sold like a mere object, but she had survived. Now, it was time to face her father, to demand answers, and to reclaim her place in the village. The once innocent girl was now a force to be reckoned with. The moment Onika stepped into the village, a hush fell over the people. They couldn't believe their eyes. She had returned. Whispers of disbelief and fear spread like wildfire, and soon the entire village was aware of her presence. Kwabena, hearing the commotion, rushed out of his hut, his heart pounding in his chest. Kwabena's heart dropped when he saw Onika standing there, alive and well. His legs felt weak, and he struggled to find his voice. But before he could speak, Onika stepped forward, her eyes burning with anger. "Why, father?" she demanded, her voice shaking with emotion. "Why did you sell me?" The entire village fell silent, waiting for his response. Kwabena, overcome with guilt and shame, fell to his knees before his daughter. "I was desperate, Onika," he confessed, his voice breaking. "I thought I was doing what was best for you, for our family. But I was wrong. I have paid dearly for my sins." Tears streamed down his face as he begged for her forgiveness, but Onika's heart was too broken to forgive so easily. As Onika stood there, facing the father who had betrayed her, memories of her time with the trader flooded back. The pain, the suffering, the loneliness, she had endured it all. But now, standing before the man who had sold her, she realized that she had survived. She was no longer the girl who had left the village. She was stronger, wiser, and determined to reclaim her life. But first, there was justice to be served. The villagers, now gathered around Onika and Kwabena, began to murmur, their voices growing louder with each passing moment. They had all been complicit in their silence, turning a blind eye to what had happened. But Onika's return had stirred something in them, a sense of justice, a need to right the wrongs that had been done. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the village elders stepped forward, their faces grave. The elders, recognizing the gravity of the situation, declared that justice must be served. They condemned Kwabena for his actions, stating that his wealth had come at too high a price. But they also acknowledged Onika's strength and resilience. "You have suffered greatly, Onika," they said, "but you have returned with honor. The village stands with you." Kwabena's wealth was to be redistributed to the village as a symbol of repentance. Onika, though still hurt, felt a sense of closure as the villagers rallied around her. She had been through hell and back, but she had survived. As the village began to redistribute the wealth, she knew that her life would never be the same. But she also knew that she had the strength to rebuild, to find happiness again, even in the face of all that had happened. As night fell, the village gathered around a large fire to celebrate Onika's return. There was a sense of healing in the air as the villagers came together to support her and to begin the process of reconciliation. Onika, though still carrying the scars of her ordeal, felt a glimmer of hope for the future. She had faced the darkness and had come out stronger on the other side. As the fire crackled and the villagers sang songs of old, Onika felt a sense of peace wash over her. She knew that her journey was far from over, but she also knew that she was not alone. The village had welcomed her back, and with their support, she could begin to heal. The night was filled with the sounds of laughter and music as the village celebrated not just her return, but the strength and resilience of the human spirit. But as the night drew to a close, Onika found herself looking toward the horizon, where the first light of dawn was beginning to appear. There was still a long road ahead, but she was ready to face it. She had been through the darkest of times, but she had come out stronger, and with the support of her village, she knew she could rebuild her life piece by piece. As the new day began, Onika felt a sense of renewal. The village had been through a great ordeal, but they had come together to overcome it. And as the sun rose, casting its warm light over the land, Onika knew that she had the strength to start anew. She had returned, not as the girl who had left, but as a woman who had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. The future was hers to shape, and with each step, she would reclaim the life that had been stolen from her. Despite all that had transpired, Nana Adam continued to live as he always had, surrounded by wealth and indulgence. He frequently invited friends to his grand home, filling it with laughter, music, and endless streams of palm wine. But beneath the surface, the joy was hollow. No amount of drink or company could fill the void left by Onika, the woman who had stolen his heart and disappeared from his life. As the nights grew longer, the emptiness in Nana Adam's heart became unbearable. The revelry and excess that once brought him joy now felt like a cruel reminder of what he had lost. Each drink he took, each laugh he forced, only deepened the ache inside him. In the quiet moments, when the guests had gone and the music had faded, he was left with nothing but his thoughts and the overwhelming sorrow that came with them. As the final drops of palm wine slipped down his throat, Nana Adam could no longer pretend. The life he once cherished felt meaningless without Onika. In his drunken haze, he realized that no amount of wealth or pleasure could bring back the happiness he had lost. His heart, once filled with pride and joy, was now heavy with regret and longing. He knew that he would never be the same again, forever haunted by the memory of the woman who had slipped through his fingers.